Weak men are not born insecure. They build insecurity. Slowly, quietly, through habits they repeat every single day. And the worst part, most of them don't even realize they are doing it. Stoicism teaches something uncomfortable. Insecurity is not caused by the world. It is caused by lack of discipline, lack of control, and lack of self-respect. In this video, you'll understand exactly why weak men stay insecure and how to escape that mindset permanently. This is not about insulting anyone. This is about truth. Because Stoicism is not soft. It is not motivational hype. It is self-examination. If a man feels constantly anxious, jealous, highly offended, defensive, or intimidated, there are reasons for it. Let's break them down. 1. Weak men avoid responsibility. The Stoics believed that responsibility builds strength. Weak men avoid it. They blame the economy. They blame their parents. They blame women. They blame society. But every time you blame something outside of yourself, you lose power. Epictetus said, "When something happens, the only thing in your control is your response." Weak men surrender control. Strong men take ownership. Ownership builds confidence. Blame builds insecurity. 2. They seek validation constantly. Weak men need approval. They need likes. They need compliments. They need recognition. And when they don't get it, they feel invisible. Stoicism teaches detachment from praise and criticism. If your worth depends on others, you will always feel unstable. Real confidence is internal. Weak men chase attention. Strong men build character. 3. They fear discomfort. Comfort creates fragility. Weak men avoid hard conversations, hard workouts, hard decisions. They stay where it feels safe, but safety slowly turns into stagnation. And stagnation feeds insecurity. Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort for a reason. A man who trains himself to endure hardship does not fear life. 4. They compare themselves constantly. Social comparison is poison. Weak men measure their value against other men, money, status, muscles, attention, and every time someone appears ahead of them, insecurity grows. Marcus Aurelius focused on self-improvement, not competition. When you compete with your past self instead of others, insecurity fades. 5. They lack self-discipline. Discipline builds identity. Weak men break promises to themselves daily. I'll wake up early. I'll train tomorrow. I'll start next week. And when you repeatedly fail yourself, you stop trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, insecurity becomes permanent. Confidence is simply self-trust in action. 6. They react emotionally to everything. Weak men are easily triggered. A comment ruins their day. A rejection crushes them. A disagreement feels like an attack. Stoicism teaches emotional control, not suppression control. You cannot stop emotions from appearing, but you can stop them from controlling your behavior. When you master your reactions, you become difficult to destabilize, and stability builds confidence. 7. They avoid self-reflection. Weak men distract themselves constantly. Noise, entertainment, scrolling, anything to avoid facing their own thoughts. But growth requires reflection. Marcus Aurelius journaled daily, not for motivation, for a correction. If you never examine your weaknesses, you will never improve them. 8. They fear being alone. A weak man feels empty alone. Silence makes him uncomfortable, so he fills his life with distractions. People, noise, but Stoics valued solitude, because a man who is comfortable alone does not depend on anyone for identity, and dependence breeds insecurity. 9. They build their identity on external things. Weak men define themselves by their job, their money, their relationship, their status. When those disappear, they collapse. Stoicism teaches that your character is your only true possession. If your identity is internal, nothing external can destroy it. 10. They wait to feel ready. Weak men wait for confidence before they act. But confidence comes from action. You speak, then confidence grows. You train, then confidence grows. You take risks, then confidence grows. Waiting builds hesitation. Action builds identity. 11. They avoid physical challenge. The body and mind are connected. A physically weak lifestyle often creates a mentally weak posture. Strength training, discipline, physical effort. These shape presence. A man who trains his body regularly naturally develops a stronger mental frame. 12. They lie to themselves. Weak men protect their ego instead of facing reality. They exaggerate their effort. They minimize their mistakes. They create excuses that sound intelligent, but hide weakness. Stoicism demands brutal honesty. If you are out of shape, admit it. If you lack discipline, admit it. If you fear rejection, admit it. Self-deception is comforting. But truth builds power. A man who tells himself the truth cannot remain insecure for long. 13. They avoid difficult conversations. Weak men suppress what needs to be said. They avoid confrontation. They avoid boundaries. They avoid clarity. And over time, resentment grows. Insecurity grows. Because when you don't speak honestly, you feel small. Stoicism teaches courage, not aggression. Courage. The courage to say what must be said calmly and clearly. Every time you assert yourself respectfully, your confidence strengthens. 14. They seek comfort over growth. Growth is uncomfortable. Weak men choose easy entertainment over skill development, easy dopamine over discipline, easy distraction over mastery. But comfort today becomes regret tomorrow. The Stoic chooses growth, even when it hurts, because pain from discipline builds pride. Pain from avoidance builds insecurity. 15. They fear rejection too much. Weak men avoid risk because they fear embarrassment. They don't apply. They don't approach. They don't attempt. And when you don't attempt, you never build proof of your ability. Stoicism reframes rejection. Rejection is not humiliation. It is information. A man who survives rejection repeatedly becomes immune to insecurity. 16. They don't build competence. Real confidence is built through skill. Weak men want confidence without competence. But you cannot fake skill. If you become excellent at something, whether it's business, training, communication, or craft, your confidence naturally stays. Stoicism values mastery. Mastery builds certainty. 17. They let fear control their decisions. Fear is natural, but weak men let fear make decisions for them. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I look foolish? And so they shrink. Stoicism teaches his fear is a signa, not a commander. The strong man feels fear and moves forward anyway. 18. They care too much about being liked. Weak men want universal approval. They soften their opinions. They change their personality. They hide their standards. But the more you try to please everyone, the less you respect yourself. Stoicism teaches indifference toward popularity. Respect matters more than approval, and respect begins with self-respect. 19. They don't control their thoughts. Insecurity is fueled by uncontrolled thinking. Overthinking, imagining worst-case scenarios, replaying conversations. Weak men believe every thought they have. Stoics question their thoughts. Is this true? Is this useful? Is this within my control? When you discipline your mind, insecurity weakens automatically. 20. They don't build a code to live by. Weak men drift through life without principles. Their behavior changes depending on mood, people, and circumstances. But Stoicism is built on values: wisdom, courage, justice, discipline. When you live by a code, your decisions become stable, and stability builds identity. Identity builds confidence. Now you can transition smoothly into your weak men stay insecure because they avoid the very things that build strength: responsibility, discipline, discomfort, truth, courage. Stoicism is not about pretending to be strong. It is about becoming strong. And strength is built daily, quietly, intentionally. If you correct these habits, insecurity disappears, not because life gets easier, but because you become harder to shake.